Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to break down the Love is Blind live-ish reunion that didn't air last night on Netflix, but is available on Netflix now. A quick reminder for those of you out there, check out all my interviews with the cast of season 4 on my YouTube page. You can find the link in my podcast notes. I've also got an interview with season 4 contestant Brandy Bowman, who didn't make the cut on the show, but was on the show coming this Friday. I am joined by my fellow Love is Blind fanatic here, Miss Amanda. How are you today?
I'm doing great. That reunion ran about long and I'm tired. So a lot of things happened and a lot of things didn't happen that I wish did happen. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Yeah, for sure. So it was supposed to start at 8 Eastern. It was supposed to be live. I don't think they underestimated how many people were going to watch this. Like they really did. Because
Yeah.
with the Chris Rock special, there was no issues at all. Like it was live. But Chris Rock is fine. Like he's not going to draw as many people as Love is Blind is. So they really had a lot of traffic issues causing it. And then finally there was a lot of people that didn't get to watch it. Still, it was just live on 2 p.m. Eastern Monday.
Yeah.
I got to watch it somehow, and then I remember you texted me how are you watching it? I'm like, I don't know. I pressed buttons and it got there, and it was then you finally got there too, because we were worried that you weren't even going to be able to watch it before filming today. So yeah.
Yeah, that was my concern. And then like I played around with it a bit and then I had called my best friend and I'm like, hey, so this is the loophole. You're trying to watch it. And then Netflix tweeted out that it was gonna be today, released today, that no one would be able to watch it. And it's but half of your audience found a way, so that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you be able to tell them how to watch it? I don't know. It was just weird.
It was. The thing about it, I saw a lot of people complain that nobody asked for a live reunion. I like the idea of the live reunion. I really do, and I hope that by next Love is Blind that they do have their things in a row with that.
I liked the live reunion, but there needed to be better questions. I think that's the whole thing. Before we get into it, I do think that Nick and Vanessa Lachey are better with a script. So it's just, I don't know. I think them on the fly was just a bit hard to mediate, and it just didn't flow as well as a pre-recorded reunion.
So I agree with that. I'm very much I love Nick and Vanessa. They're great, whatever. I think they do a great job on the show.
Yes.
I think when it comes to hosting a live reunion, they need to find somebody else. I don't think they're equipped. And there's several moments where Vanessa kind of made me mad, with how she approached certain things with certain people. And we'll get into that. It's very much I saw somebody tweet this out. If she likes you, she's 100% for you. And you can see that. And Nick is just kind of more, and Nick is just kind of there in some aspects.
He's floating, yeah.
And he's just he's the way a host should be, but also not, because he doesn't really hit the hard-hitting questions. Vanessa hits the hard-hitting questions, but only picks and chooses which hard-hitting questions to ask individuals.
And no follow-ups, no proper follow-ups. That's why, because my friend and I would send a paragraph to each other because we're both journalists. We send a paragraph and we're like, they missed this, they could have done this, they could have added something to this, they could have gone deeper. And I think that's the thing with the live reunion, was that it was all surface level because they didn't want to push any buttons. And I'm like, but that's the point of a live reunion. Do you think Andy Cohen gives to he doesn't care when he does the reunions with the housewives? Why do you care? That's the whole point of this television series. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating because and then she cuts people off very badly. There were several moments where she cut Micah off, and we'll talk about Micah in a little bit, but she cut Micah off where I felt like Micah didn't get a leg to stand on, and then there was we'll talk about my least favorite part of this entire thing was Vanessa with Micah and Paul, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I felt like that entire thing was a disaster, but we will start off with the happy news. So I had thought, I had processed so many different things. I was like, there's so many different things. You overread too much. I watched this show 2.5 months ago, I think it was, beginning of March, before I did the press day. It's I had watched the weddings already 2 months ago.
Mm.
I started like, when you start seeing things on social media, you saw Kwame and Chelsea kind of being lovey-dovey when they landed in LA. You saw Bliss and Zack really lovey-dovey. And then you didn't see a whole lot of Tiffany and Brett being like lovey-dovey at all. They would share things and stuff like that. But I was like terrified that for some reason something happened within the last year that these two like went their separate ways. That was my scares going into this, but obviously that was the opposite, which was great. Both are happily in love. I think the joke about her sleeping is funny, but like Vanessa and Nick beat it to death and it was exhausting. But part of another reason why they need a script in their hands. I did like the dynamic. They talked about how the relationship has worked. He said that she moved to Portland. It's been an adjustment period for the two of them, but they look happy, seem happy. I'm happy because I feel like they are probably my favorite couple ever on the show. And yeah. What?
Oh my God, really?
Brett and Tiffany?
Not even from first season?
No, Brett and Tiffany hands down. Like I feel like
Whoa.
I feel like their chemistry. There's been no drama. There's been no bullshit. I just think that it's two people that are looking for love. And I'm not saying that the previous seasons didn't have that. I'm just saying these two, I just love them.
I love them too. I was like right off the bat, I'm like, if anything bad ever happens to the two of them, I'm gonna get so upset that I have to like I'm gonna have
somebody yelled at me.
Go off.
I'm trying to remember. Lauren and Cam is everybody else's favorite.
I literally just Googled. I'm like,
yeah.
I forgot his name, but like Lauren and Cameron, like that was just a beautiful thing from season 1. And I got flashbacks watching Tiffany and Brett, and I'm like, that's perfect couple. Like I was really happy for both of them. I really was, but like I barely remember season 2 and season 3 was just like absolutely ridiculous. And I will make a comment about a certain person. Anyways, that kind of popped up and I was like, oh my God, surprise, love reunion. I will make a comment, but I don't think 2 and 3 was like that strong in regards to like actually finding that true love, because a lot of them either broke up or there weren't enough couples that you actually enjoyed watching their love story unfold. So I really love Tiffany and Brett. I do.
Yeah, I did too. I loved him telling the story of the pictures from the shoot. That entire thing is beautiful. Their entire story has been great. I can't wait for it. Also, can we stop pushing these couples to make babies? Like, please, like it's so uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable, but it's kind of creepy the way that she's doing it. Like, you're not their aunt. You're really not. It's not like you put these two together. You didn't match make any of them. Like, relax, seriously. And also, like, on the one hand, people were like Rihanna at the Super Bowl. You can't assume someone's pregnant, and she's doing it on live. Like, seriously, like you don't know. Like, I'm gonna say this, like, God forbid, like anything, there's any problems or whatever. Like, they're not gonna say that live at the reunion. If there were to, I hope there isn't. But it's the fact that like, don't pressure them. Like let them enjoy their marriage. Let them enjoy it without having the cloud that is this reality show, because a lot of them are under fire for a lot of things that they said. So they just want peace, man. Like, I don't know.
That's a perfect thing. And I'm going to say this again. I'll reiterate it with we talk about Jackie, Josh, and Marcel, because I have a lot to say about that. That's both good and bad for all scenarios with all parties. But like people forget that this is a reality show. Like the thing about it is there's a lot of things I've done in my life that if I had a camera on my every waking moment, that I would have said and done things that made people mad constantly. I'm not proud of everything I've ever said. No, nobody is. But if you have the microscope on you of a camera, like I've talked to when I talked to like Brandy Bowman that was on this show about, she's like, there's a camera in your face every moment of like the entire day, basically. If you're gonna say some dumb shit, and it's not to make an excuse for those actions, because they're not. Like, that doesn't make them good human beings. But moving on to a couple that I've grown to love, I won't say love, but I've got a lot of issues at the same time with Kwame and Chelsea. So they seem very smitten. very happy, which I'm very happy for. I did think that we got a little bit more of a behind the scenes of the entire Calvin Klein photo shoot, of the engagement photo shoot. People have criticized Chelsea for that. I don't like, it's her thing. And Kwame, I gave Kwame credit for doing it because it's not something that's prototypically normal.
Yeah.
But it was cool to hear Chelsea tell the story about how it all started. She had bought a pair of Calvin Kleins ahead to like, and then of course he wore them that day and that date. And then of course Kwame said he was wearing them that night at the reunion, which I thought was kind of adorable. They seem smitten, but this is where we're going to talk a little bit of craziness. Okay. They start to talk about Micah, which I have quite a bit of issues. I don't know if you have the same issues that I do here, but I guess there was a chat. We saw the chat between Micah and Chelsea, who chatted about Mexico, where Micah kind of owned the joke that she said, and they kind of had a back and forth. Now, my thing with Chelsea is Chelsea has a very dominating personality, right? She loves Kwame, I think, period. Like, end of story. She didn't care about what happened between point A and point B. However, Kwame is full of shit. He said, I pull up the clip. I'm in the process of making a TikTok. I'm going to make a TikTok about this because Kwame said, and I quote, "I like Chelsea a lot, but my head is on Micah. That's who I want to spend the rest of my life with. I'm going to propose to her. I just need her to show me the same affection and tell me that she wants to be with me." And then gets into the pods with Micah and she breaks up with him. Now, I don't know how it could have been edited that way.
That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, it has to come down to editing.
But how they were talking, but how Kwame was talking about it made it seem like he was already broken up with her. And he didn't see a future with her, et cetera, et cetera. Now, no matter how it's edited, the words came out of his mouth that he said he saw a future with Micah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the editing really got Kwame, and you can see it in this reunion. I feel like he was media trained and prepped for this reunion because it's two different people. Not saying he's not intelligent enough to form sentences. It's not what I'm saying. There's a way of like how you generally speak, and then there's a way of how to handle questions being thrown at you. And that's what it was like. He recited the words coming out of his mouth to prep for what he already knew was about to come at him. So that's what I just thought he wasn't genuine in that moment. Because like I take accountability for X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, bro, like you don't have to preach that much. Like, relax. You with your girl. We understand you said yes, because I 150% thought he was gonna say no. And I'm like, Chelsea is literally pouring her heart out. She's in it since day one. That girl fought for this relationship. And I love her. She is one of my favorite cast members to date. So it's just the fact that like you see that she's all in and she's questioning him constantly. And then what we see in the show is like he's unsure of himself the entire time. And it's like, again, it could fall to editing and it's not on him. But at the same time, going back to what you said about Micah, it's the fact that like, I guess he had to grow from it, because he did say that he had to process those emotions. It's really hard to like have feelings for two different people. And I get that, because you love them in different ways. And then you have to just balance that out. But honestly, the whole thing with Micah, I think it was just blown out of proportion because they had zero drama with other cast members apart from like Jackie and them, that entire section. So I think they were pulling it out of nothing, because Micah with the whole Chelsea and Kwame situation is much different than how I feel about the Micah and Paul situation. So like that's the difference there. But like Chelsea's my favorite person in that relationship.
Yeah, my thing is, I agree with you. I didn't even think about that. You're right, because I feel like the way Kwame came off with that very much, I don't know if it was Chelsea that maybe helped him or kind of prepared for him, because there was parts where like Kwame was over talking everything. Yeah. Like Vanessa called out Chelsea asking about the breakup, right? You know what I mean? Because what we saw, he was getting ready to propose to Micah, but that's not what he was claiming on the stage. Vanessa kind of questioned that, and then Kwame kind of overspoke over Vanessa and Chelsea. So it was like he was kind of overcompensating for something. I felt like how he acted was how Marshall should have acted. We'll talk about him later. But Kwame handled himself really well. I just felt like there was a lot of dishonesty with what he said. You know what I mean? Like, that's my big problem. I also felt like Micah took a lot of hits on the chin that were undeserved there.
A lot.
I will phrase this by saying what Micah did in the pods and with Irina, I do not agree with at all. Right? No. She acted like a Mean Girls. Look, that's high school shit. We've all seen it. It's all happened. However, Micah, I felt bad for Micah this entire night. Between her and I'll tell you what, we'll talk about Irina a little bit. I felt bad for her too. Like, I'll get to her in a minute of why I felt bad.
You want to talk about Media Train times 100?
Well, yes, I agree. I agree. But we'll talk about it. But I felt bad. Like, I walked away from this feeling bad for two people, Micah and Paul, that were there live. I felt bad for Paul. I did.
I didn't.
Well, I'll tell you why I didn't.
We'll get into that. Yeah,
we'll talk about this. We'll talk about those in a minute because now we're good. But Chelsea did say she met with Kwame's mom during Thanksgiving. She said she welcomed her with open arms, which was fantastic. That's very exciting because regardless of what Kwame says, he said it wasn't as a big deal as he said it was. I mean,
but it was like every other sentence is like, but is your mom going to be okay with this? Why isn't she at the wedding? How can she, I'm sorry, welcome her with open arms at Thanksgiving, but not attend the wedding? Like, something was not adding up there. And there was a big thing for, like, whatever, everyone has like their own family stuff. Like, I'm not saying that. It just didn't add up in the context of the show, like, whatsoever. So I don't know if like they were using that in editing to make it seem like he was going to say no. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what it felt like. So I don't know. I'm happy that everything worked out. Like, such a loving family on both sides. Like their family episodes were probably like my favorite. Just to have them all together, and they match. They really do match, and like it worked out in the end. But editing's been sketch. That's all I can say for them.
And in my conversations over the last few months since doing these shows, I've talked to people involved in the shows, and the editing is rough. The editing is rough for a lot of them, and it's again what people don't take out of context. Because even we'll talk about it a little bit, but the editing alone, Josh is made out to be this horrible human being that came back out of nowhere, that we didn't see any of the conversation between him and Jackie in the pods. But then they showed it last night during the thing, that they had this whole conversation. They had this great connection, that they laughed and joked together. Like, we didn't see any of that from the beginning.
I think
for a reason.
Yeah, for a reason. But I think that if we go back to like the first couple of episodes, I think that they paid too much attention to different people dating certain ones. Like, if you knew that, like, hypothetically, the whole thing with Jackie, Josh, and Marshall was going to be bigger and lead to the end, then I would have kind of cut out the other conversations that maybe Paul had with the flight attendant, Amber. Yeah, I would have kind of cut that, because that wasn't like, it wasn't necessary at the end of the day. I would have cut that, added more of Josh for Jackie. And that would have made more sense, because then Paul was always going to make a beeline to Micah, but the love triangle was with Kwame. So it was just kind of unnecessary to have that in there if the focus was going to be on Josh later on.
Yeah, because when you watch the show, you just think that Josh is coming in being a dick. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he kind of was in a way. Like, he was loud. I don't care. I liked what he did. I don't give a shit what anybody says about it. I felt like it was a man that knew what he wanted. But also, there's a lot more behind the scenes and stories that haven't been told that we'll talk about in a little bit. But we'll move on to probably my least favorite couple of this entire show, and that's Bliss and Zack. I'm sorry. You can't pay me enough money to believe that these two are in love. And that's just mean. I know it is, but they're awful.
I love them.
Oh my God. It's just because of the stupid wedding dance. That's it. Like, that's it.
No, it's not even that. It's just the way that they look at each other. I'm like, they love each other so much. They bloody color coordinated.
I hate
No, I
Zack so
love,
much.
honestly, after everything that he went like through with Arena, you could see a totally different side with him and Bliss.
Media trained.
No, he's not media trained. He is
Oh
a
my.
damn
No, he's
lawyer.
an idiot. He's an idiot.
The man is a lawyer. That is why he seems like he's media trained. But I personally do think that they are a match and they bring out the best in each other. And my girl Bliss
I
is an
love her.
angel.
I
And she
love
was
Bliss.
protected at all costs. But
I
she
love
was
Bliss.
defending her man. And
I
I
love
was
Bliss.
like, I love her. I like Zack. I'm not saying I love Zack. I think he's a dum-dum for what he did with Arena. I think that I was watching it and I was just sitting there like, how did you make this decision? It didn't make any sense to me. But also, like, if we're gonna bring Arena into this, I can understand that she felt trapped, because if they asked her to stay and she didn't feel like staying, I think that's a bit like pushing it. So your body will kind of protect you. Your brain will protect you without meaning to. You'll kind of like pull back from people knowing that you're uncomfortable in said situation. Should she have articulated that? 100%. Should she have like come out and straight up told them, listen, like I feel X, Y, and Z? And that would have been more honest, and she wouldn't have gotten the backlash that she did get. But again, that falls in line with what the show is doing and what the producers are forcing certain people to do. So I understand it. Do I like the approach that she took? No. But ultimately, I'm just happy for Zack and Bliss at the end of the day, because I do think that they're going to be the first ones to have a kid, as per what Vanessa Lachey wants, unfortunately.
All right, so here's how I feel about Zack. I got quite a bit to say. Zack went from I really don't care what happens to he's at the bottom of my list now. Like he's literally, out of everybody that was on the show, the one person that fell out of favor more than anybody was Zack. And I'll tell you why. So there was a few different things. So I don't think Zack was as innocent with Irina as he claims to be. It was his decision. He made that decision, and like he made the wrong decision. Now I remember talking early on. I interviewed him and asked him about when he knew that decision was wrong, and he said he knew very early on in the process. So if that's true, I want to know why we went to Mexico. That's on both of them.
Maybe.
And I know Irina had said she had said she was done and she wanted to leave, and the producers asked her to go to Mexico. Maybe we're trying to get them to work it out, because they did form a connection in the pods. They were connecting. You know what I mean? Obviously, the problem was she wasn't attracted to him. And no matter what you do on this show, you could have emotional connections with people, but if you aren't physically attracted to them, that can't be changed. Like it just can't. You can't force that on anybody.
Well, we saw that with Deepti and Shake. Like, I was just so devastated for her. I remember watching that and it was terrible. So, like,
exactly. So, like, you
it.
can't force that on anybody. Now,
Yeah.
1 minute, Zack was preaching about how, which I appreciated. I appreciated what he said. He said something along the lines about, these people are on shows, they make mistakes, they're human. People at home need to remember that. But then he flips it on Bliss and basically talks down to her, which I'm not saying she didn't deserve some of the shit that she got, right? Because they're rehashing it. Maybe they've talked about it. Maybe they've had the conversation already. But we're live-ish TV, and we all know they're going to rehash everything that happened in the show. However, when he calls her out and says you went on the show to get famous, that pissed me off. And I'll tell you why. Whether he believes that or not, I feel like he should have kept that to himself, only because just a few moments ago, he's talking about how these people are human and how people on the internet needed to like not talk bad to these people. But then you add fuel to that fire, to which people are going to now criticize Irina even more, or Bliss even more, or Irina, sorry, get them mixed up. They're all the same. Irina even more, they're not. I'm just kidding. Stop it. They're not the same. Stop. I'm just kidding. I like Bliss a lot. I'm sorry. Again, I felt like that was very wrong of him to call her out after him saying that. After him saying what he said about these people being human beings, it makes me like, because you're adding more fuel to the fire.
There is already enough fuel in that's already there.
Exactly.
There's no
Exactly.
stopping,
So
but there's no stopping that now because you can't stop any of it. Even Marshall said, "Oh, you're begging people to stop at the end of it. You can't. You're on a reality show.
You
Yeah,
can't.
but you can't. But you're on a
But she
reality
seemed
show.
very apologetic for her actions. She did. I'm not saying it couldn't have been.
Fam, she messaged Bliss, bro, you dodged a bullet. Who?
That was
Why would
hilarious.
that was terrible
hilarious.
that you
That's
even
hilarious.
said that while you're
That's
messaging
hilarious to
him
me.
saying I'm so sorry. Like what?
That's hilarious.
Like
to me.
I can't. And I understand that like the thing is that you try to trust the people that you're having these conversations with, especially on a reality show, but there are a lot of people that just go on a show to get famous.
Oh, 100%.
So that's
part of it. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Like that's part
that's
of
been
what has
in the
made
back
Love
of his
is
mind.
Blind. That's part of what Love is Blind season 1 versus season 4 is. Like you're seeing a lot more people kind of come on these shows for certain reasons get married. People don't realize 8 couples got engaged.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Engaged. But only 5 of them made it to the show. And then of course only 3 of them said yes, but like the 3 couples that did get engaged, none of them lasted. So it's like part of it is like everybody knows if you get engaged, now people are gonna know, well shit, just because I get engaged doesn't mean I'm gonna be on the show. So like if that's factored into that, I feel like maybe we'll get more sincere people because the fact that none of those people lasted outside of the show without that bubble being there just goes to show maybe some of these other people also got engaged for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? You're trying to get onto the show. And I 100% understand part of that. And I'm not saying Irina might not have or might have been on the show for the wrong reasons. I felt that way about Micah. I felt that way about Micah from the beginning. That I felt like but however, Micah redeemed herself over the last 4 or 5 episodes for me. I feel like her arc was, and I felt like last night, we'll talk about it in a minute, I liked a lot of what I saw out of Micah last night as well.
Oh, I totally agree.
And the empathetic nature felt more authentic, I will agree, with Micah than it did with Irina.
I think when you put women in a room together and they're trying to find the love of their life, you know, things come out a bit more harshly. At the end of the day, like there are girls who are going to be catty and then they're all going through this really odd experiment at the same time. So you have to give them the benefit of the doubt to process all of this because you're like, imagine you're talking to someone and then there's someone else talking to them and you're having dinner with them and you're talking about the same guy. Like that's just something that wouldn't conventionally happen in real life. So like I get that when you put like women in a room, you put men in a room, it's the exact same situation. They get catty about, you know, what they want. But with Irina, and this is going to be like the last thing I say about her because I feel like I've been dogging her. I'm so sorry. But the thing with her is that like, for me, the only person that she spoke to was Zack. Like, and she's like, oh, but like he, you know, she kind of backtracked because she's like, you were the last person I talked to. And then it's like, no, but like you were my favorite person that I spoke to. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense because like if Irina really was committed to finding love, we would have seen her go on more dates than she went on. And I think that's like, that was kind of a red flag for me that she didn't have the right intentions.
I don't disagree with you. I just feel I didn't like his comment. I just didn't like his comment.
That's fair.
And
yeah.
I also don't like what he did a little bit later on, where he chimes in where he shouldn't have. Speaking of chiming in where he shouldn't have, we have Micah and Paul. I will say this too, like I didn't love the question right out the gate, obviously, is this. Micah did what she did right at the altar. We all know what she did at the altar. She stopped. I had thought from the beginning that it was going to be she flipped the switch because she didn't want to look embarrassed by saying yes. Now, interviewing her, she told me that the reason she did it is because she didn't want to say yes and force Paul to say yes. Now, of course, Vanessa put Paul on the spot and said, if she would have said yes, would you have said yes? And Paul said he didn't know really that, and which is a very stupid hypothetical, really question in a way, because it's like, you know, I get why they ask. We're going to get that, right? You know what I mean? Of course, that was going to be 1,000% going to be a question. I didn't mind his answer. But you could see from her perspective, in my opinion, in defense of her, that you could see why maybe her saying yes would have pressured him into saying yes. Right? You know what I mean? 100%.
I think that she made a very smart decision
100%.
because she was very sure in saying yes 100% to him. He was not. And I knew the second that like he turned it off for her when he went to go meet her friends. That's when he turned it off.
Rightfully so.
And I can see that. I personally dislike Shelby. Not that I want to say, I don't want to speak poorly about her, but it was just the fact that like there's a way to kind of conduct yourself when meeting someone, meeting a boyfriend of like your best friend, and then you say all of that stuff like in private with her. Like there could have been a separate conversation without Paul, more so than kind of doing that to his face. I think that was the turn off here with them. But realistically, like whatever you want to say about Paul and Micah, I do think that Micah's personality is the complete opposite of Paul, and sometimes opposites do attract. But in this case, I genuinely think because of the way he makes decisions, I don't think they would have made it past like maybe like another couple of months if they did say yes to each other, just because of the way that he thinks over like going with his heart in a lot of things.
I agree with that. And there's the other aspect of it is, and we saw it, Paul also wants somebody that's a little bit more affectionate and a little bit somebody that there's nothing wrong with. He wants somebody that, and I think that he wanted to be, so this is where I feel like the same quote from Kwame. Kwame was like, you got to remember, the same person had the same issue with the same person. Kwame never felt the reciprocation of that love that he was giving Micah early in the process. And whenever it came time to, get down to business, obviously she ran away or just closed the door on him because she wanted to go with Paul. Paul's issues with Micah stemmed from not feeling that reciprocation of love that he wasn't getting. And then he said that. Like he has said that he didn't feel like she was offering the same amount of love that he would like getting in return.
I didn't think he was offering it. I don't think he was affectionate. I don't think he was affectionate.
I disagree. I disagree. I feel like I like Paul, and I think that I feel like with them two, the moment those two met, I felt like they were doomed anyway. Like I don't really feel like she was super attracted to him from the get-go. I do, and she even said that. Like they're 100%. You're right, and I feel like you said it perfectly with the opposite attract thing, because I think that's what this was. Opposite attract. Yep. They had some chemistry in the pods, whatever. I still think that she 1000% feels like she should have picked Kwame. 1000% thinks that she should have went with Kwame. I feel
and
that
I
way.
Don't think that would have worked either.
No, I 100% agree. 100% agree.
And I don't know why. And it's not like like we said, she kind of like grew on both of us because I felt really freaking
100%.
bad for her in this.
I
really do. It was horrible. Like her crying and like finding things out. That's the other thing. She's finding out that like he said that he can't see her as a mom, can't see her like nurturing and all of that. And it's like, but you've had these conversations about having children the entire time. And then that's what you don't say.
I am going to slightly defend it. Now, he did say that first off, he did apologize. Let's go ahead and say that. He did apologize, which was the appropriate thing to do. And then he followed it up with saying that he owns what he says, and he said he phrased it poorly, is what he said, which I 100% agree. But I can see from his point of view where he could feel something like that if he felt like he wasn't getting the reciprocation of that love that he was looking for. Again, it could just be the personality she has, and that's not who she is as a person. And what he was seeking, opposites there. Again, I do not condone what he said at all, because that's a harsh thing to say. That's like very harsh thing to say.
Yeah.
I do commend him for apologizing and saying that he phrased it poorly, and he said what he meant. Maybe he thought he didn't see them together as good parents, which, my God, neither do I. Like, I mean, anybody could have seen that there. Like,
He said
awful
that he can't see himself as a father, and I'm like,
as well.
I don't see you as nurturing either. So it's like, you know what I
Agreed.
mean? Like,
I
I
can
didn't see
understand
it, and he's self-aware. Like, at least he's self-aware. I don't dislike Paul. It was just the fact that, like, the way that he comes off is that he doesn't care, and that he is kind of like emotionless in that case. And whereas
that. I
like
think he's just
Micah,
emotionally dead with her.
yeah, I mean,
And
but
we're
that you
talking like
saw
this
that
is
in
a
the
year
show.
ago. Like, it was a year
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Like
you
this
can
was a
see
year
that
ago.
too.
And like they even tried to date apparently after. Apparently that didn't work.
See, why wasn't there a follow-up question for that?
Oh,
Why
I didn't
didn't
say
that work? Why? I'm like, I'm not understanding why you didn't dig into that one.
right. She asked, she's like, oh, wait, because he said, we tried to date after the show. Nobody said anything. Then they asked him about it, and he said that we just didn't work. Why didn't, like, follow
Like
up to that?
you
Vanessa
don't
was
ask
too
Paul.
stuck on not
Yeah.
understanding Paul's answer to the
Yeah.
question about the whole, like, okay, so that's where I got pissed at Vanessa. She harped on Paul saying, well, Micah's confused. I'm confused. I don't know what you meant by the answer. He specifically said, I didn't see myself at the time being a parent with Micah. He was questioning being a father. Look, if you're questioning being a father to the person you're with, you don't belong with the person. How did you not understand what he was trying to say? Instead of harping on that, let's harp on, oh, so you guys dated after the show? What happened? Why didn't it work?
And
Why did
don't
y'all
ask
try
Paul.
again?
She's direct that question to Micah because she will talk. There's
Vanessa cut the mic off so many times, whether it was the Kwame and Chelsea thing. Like, she cut Mike off several times when she tried to say something because Micah had something to say. I forgot to say this. Mike had something to say during Kwame talking. 1000%. You could see it in her eyes that she wanted to like spill the beans about all of the lies that Kwame was spewing over there. But Micah, I just want to have a whole conversation with Micah because she didn't say everything that I felt like she wanted to say last night.
She took the high road. I think she took the high road being silenced the way that she was by Vanessa Lachey. I think that she just kind of like, I'm going to close off. You could tell that she was closed off the entire reunion after it was Chelsea and Kwame. Right after the whole segment, zilch, didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Okay. The second it got to Paul, she was in a daze because she was counting down the minutes until they actually had to have that conversation.
She even said, she's like, I forgot I was here. Now it's my turn to whatever she
said.
said.
And now she's in the hot seat, which then she doesn't want to talk about it because she was still hurt a year. Like, it's been a year, but she's carrying that with her because she saw brand new information that she didn't see before. Yeah. So like, and then what bothered me the most was like, but you, like, Paul was kind of like, how can you feel this way now after a year? And it's like, I'm sorry, if you saw the person that you were supposed to marry say like X, Y, and Z, and I've never heard him talk about this with me, of course you're going to make it reactionary. That was the whole point of the live going right after like the final episode. Like, you can't expect that. Like, if Paul can shut off his emotions like quick time, good for him. That's fine. Yeah. But the fact that he wasn't like understanding of why Micah was feeling the way that she did, like, it's still opening up old wounds. Like, it doesn't matter.
I agree with that.
So
100%. I'm on board with you.
That's why I was like kind of like turned off by Paul. And like, yeah, I feel really bad. Like, I feel really bad for her. I do.
Also, fuck Zack. Because he opened his mouth here. And then chimed in and then brings up this whole can of worms where he said he spoke to other girls on the show where they never believed that Micah was going to say yes at the altar and never really loved Paul. And then nobody wanted to speak up, making Zack look like a fucking idiot. Which, again, this is why Zack moved down about 1,000 pegs, because Zack chimed in.
Said that.
First off, he kind of threw his boy under the boat because he said he was talking to his boy the night before until 2 a.m. who was uncertain about his, whether he's getting married or not. So he kind of threw Paul into the boat because Paul admittedly says, not just to anybody, but just to me, that he didn't realize he's going to say no until he's at the altar, which I don't really believe. I love you, Paul, but no, I don't believe that. Now, that said, I do agree with you 100%. I do think Paul is cut off to this entire thing. He's one of those people that might be like that, might be just able to flip the switch and move on with my life. Which is fine, cool for you. But you have to understand, I agree with you, you have to understand that this is going to be something that's going to be brought up. You're going to have to own
to show. Which
I do agree that he did own what he said, but I feel like he could have showed more empathy. I agree.
100, but they all could have. I think it was really annoying that like you all signed up for a reality show. The reunion's a year later. What questions do you think they're gonna ask you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, don't say we're not gonna talk about it.
5 separate episodes. Give me five.
Like half hour, not even an hour. Like half hour.
Give me a half hour of Marshall, Jackie. Give me a half hour of Micah, Paul, and give me a half hour of everybody. Not everybody on the stage at one time, because we didn't get 90% of the answers we wanted.
No, we got zilch. We got nothing. And it's like, at the same time, it's like, as audience members, like maybe we shouldn't be like, who the hell cares about any of these couples at the end of the day? But we invested time, and it's a reality show. So you have to be prepared to answer these questions. Like for me, it's like you saying we already talked about it a year ago. Yeah, you guys did. We didn't hear that conversation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't brush that off. I'm sorry. You can't. And like, then you shouldn't have come on the show, like at the same time. And I understand that like you're looking at it in hindsight, but that just irritating.
I agree. And then we're about to get even more,
oh God.
Let's have a little bit more fun. By talking about, Jackie, Marshall, and Josh. First things first. If you want to see a lot of what I was hoping we would see on Sunday with some of the receipts that Jackie says she has, you can head on over to her Instagram page. I do feel like some of what happened, mainly thing that I'm looking at, there's two things that I saw in the thing. One, she has a text message that says, tell him to come get the ring, in her story about the ring. Obviously the big story around the ring about her not giving it back to him. That, and then of course she says that she broke up with Marshall before meeting with Josh, which she does have text message proof of that with her producer. Those things are a fact. Like, that's clear as day. I will say this. I have seen the text messages with the Netflix producers. I agree. I feel like they edited it for dramatic purposes. Which, again, I will sit here and say, this is another couple I think was doomed from the start. But I was rooting for them because I like Marshall. I think Marshall's a good guy.
I love him.
But I will say I didn't love how Marshall acted last night. I will follow that up by saying that. I didn't think that he came off as great as I'd hope he would, I think. And I feel like he had the opportunity to clear the air, and I feel like he took the high road.
He couldn't clear the air. He couldn't, because the decision to not have her there to answer him while they were like having this discussion, he got slighted again, and he deserved that.
Everybody deserved it. I think all three of them deserved it. Or really 100%. Just Jackie and him. Not Josh, not so much. Josh,
forget about Josh.
Piece. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jackie and Marshall deserved.
He deserved it. Sorry, he deserved her. Forget about her. He deserved her being there, considering the way that she completely turned off any feelings that she had for him. Like, I think that that's where it really annoyed me, where Marshall had to take the high road.
I disagree. I don't think he had to.
He had to. He's talking to nothing, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, what is he going to do?
That's Netflix's decision. Spoiler alert.
That's what I don't understand. Like, I don't know.
I can't speak any further than that because I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But there's a lot more that nobody knows. That there's a lot more behind the scenes that happens about this. I know a lot of what happened. I can't speak on it, and that's horrible. And I hate to say it like that and leave y'all guys open-ended. But one thing I did love at the beginning of this, and I mentioned it earlier, we saw more of the Jackie Josh love story that we didn't see on the show, which made way more sense for Josh coming back into the picture later on, instead of just showing up willy-nilly saying, hey, I'm here to come get my girl. And I was like, your girl? Like, I didn't even know that y'all had even like more than 3 conversations in the pod, which they really did. They had great chemistry, et cetera, et cetera. We get that montage. I felt like they were cute in the pods. They did. I do feel like Jackie saw a lot of her past in Josh, and that's why she went with Marshall, somebody more nurturing. That I still to this day think that he said the wrong thing in calling her a project, but at the same time, I knew what he kind of meant by that in a way, and not in a bad way either. It's not as bad as it sounds. Awful on the surface, 100% awful on the surface, but he felt like it was like it's people try to fix people all the time. That's what we'll say. He felt like he could have been that safe haven, that person that brought out the best in her. Did it happen? Obviously not. Marshall seemed uncomfortable throughout this entire thing. Of course, then Vanessa and Nick talk about how they're not with us today. Whatever. I don't hate Jackie and Josh being together. I'm happy for them. I want nothing but the best for them. Congratulations. This entire thing, whether you look at it at the end of the day, Netflix dropped the ball 100%. We should have gotten Jackie and Marshall on the stage together.
100%.
I know that, and if you weren't going to be able to give it to us live, and I felt like, okay, you can see Jackie's personality. Okay, Jackie wasn't going to be Micah. Jackie wasn't going to be Irina. Jackie wasn't going to be quiet. Jackie was going to say her piece, and I feel like they couldn't quote unquote control her live on the air.
That's what bothers me about this.
I know.
Like, that's what I can't understand. Like, first of all, you got her on the show. So it's okay for you to record her with Marshall that entire time, because there were massive blowouts, one right after the other between the two of them. You were okay doing that in controlling the situation, which you clearly didn't, because it escalated, got bad real fast. Okay, number one. Number two, this is a live reunion for people to have closure on top of it, which we still didn't get with any of the couples whatsoever. There's like no closure, nothing, absolutely nothing. But the whole point of a reality show is to have people confront each other, which ultimately, this is why the Love is Blind reunion failed. It failed at the end of the day. You had all that drama throughout the season. You should have had the same level of drama at the reunion for quality television.
Even if she wasn't there, even have her there on Zoom with
yes,
something. Okay, let's just say I feel like, because you saw the interview. That, by the way, the interview that Vanessa had with Jackie and Josh was way longer than what we saw. What I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. My thing is this, but I disagree in some ways. Okay, so the thing about it is this. I very pro Marshall since day one. I think he is a man of men. What he did on that show, proving to show that a man can have empathy, he can have emotions, he can be stern without being confrontational, he can be there for somebody without yelling back. 1000% appreciate everything on that surface level. With him and his relationship with Brett is beautiful. I love that relationship that they had. I love them two together. My thing is this: at the end of the day, I didn't love how Marshall came off with. And you're right. I guess maybe you have a strong point. Maybe you take the high road because you're talking to Aaron. I do know he said that he didn't get to have that opportunity to seek that confrontation or the communication with Jackie live like everybody else did. Not fair at all to him. Again, not fair to Jackie either. Not fair to either parties. Not fair to us as the audience who has invested 12 episodes in these people either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can see that. My problem is I just also, by the way, he went on this date with Kesha, right? Is her name?
Yeah.
Right? So
Keisha?
my question is this.
Yeah.
Keisha, she messaged him apparently around the same time that all of this craziness was going down, right? This is where I believe Vanessa and Nick missed the ball of asking a hard question follow-up, because I will say this, I do feel there was a bit of protecting Marshall in this entire scenario as well. I say that because he is a poster boy now and will be, rightfully so. Not saying that. I do think that he was overly protected on the show. She sent this message apparently around the same time that they broke up. apparently are right in with that time frame. I want to know when the date was. I want to know. I want to know when he went on that date because he criticizes her. Now, sure, it might have been the next day. She went on the date with Josh. Not saying that's right. Not saying that at all, right? But we're also saying that it's okay for two people to fall in love with the pods with two different people. What Kwame did. Several people in the show did. Again, not saying the kiss was right. They broke up. Marshall and Jackie were not together. Let's just say we live in a world, Marshall and Jackie not together. I need to know when this date with Kesha was, because if it was around the same time, I want Marshall to get criticized for this. I need to know when the date was.
But he didn't.
The date was, Amanda.
I have no idea. I can DM Marshall myself and see what happens because he sounds like a great guy. But for me, it's like at that point, it doesn't matter. It matters to you. But
her for going on a date like that fast.
At that point, after everything that they have been through, I don't think either one of them cared about each other at that point. So to criticize afterwards, like, go ahead and do it because there's nothing there anymore. There's absolutely nothing holding them together. So to be critical, they can. And that's why at the reunion, for her not to be present while he was talking, that's why it's more disrespectful, I find, because you're not allowing that conversation to be had, even though it's been a year and they think that they've crushed everything and that they've kind of like laid it to bed. They clearly haven't if Marshall's still reactionary to everything that she was saying with Josh on camera.
But apparently him and Josh are buddies.
So then his face during the whole time that they were talking was that was for the show? That was for television then? Because he was putting on faces, man. Who? He was putting on Marshall at everything that Jackie was saying.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, there is truth in between all of it.
Yeah.
In between all of it. You know what I mean? Obviously, my thing is this. We need it. Okay. Again, the whole, Netflix dropped the ball.
That's it.
Period.
Point blank.
Like, yeah. I agree with you. Like, there's nothing else much to say about Marshall, Jackie, and Josh situation other than Netflix dropped the ball because now you are in a he said, she said battle that will continue. It's just like Natalie and Shane. Natalie will never shut up about Shane, even though she asked Shane to shut up about her. And I can say this for 100% fact. When I interviewed Shane, the number one thing he asked of me was not to bring up Natalie. He does not want to talk about Natalie anymore, which understandably.
Rightfully so.
But she starts a podcast and then goes on a rant, 3 different episodes now about Shane. So the thing about it is, and of course he's going to be reactionary to it because she's bringing up certain things. The thing about it is you've got to let these people close the conversations. Everybody keep chiming in. Reminded me of Brennan, which no, we don't like Brennan, but Brennan and what's his girl's name from last season? Alexa.
Yeah.
Those two. Remember, like last year, he kept on chiming in every time Cole would speak, and Cole was made out to be this horrible villain, and in the long run, like Cole ended up being like, if they wouldn't, like I said this to Cole and I talked about this, if they would have not shown the cuties thing, Cole would not be able to like show his face on the internet. Like
absolutely right.
Because he's like, he's all human being. Which, before we give some final parting thoughts, I want to say this to everybody that's listening. This is a reality show. You are allowed to be just like what we've done for the last like however long this is, critical of what these people did. You're allowed to form an opinion, say you don't like individuals, say that you don't like what they did, because there's a lot of different people on this show that did things that Amanda and I have not liked, and anybody that watches it have not liked. There's people that I will not follow on Twitter or talk about, or, but at the end of the day, sending death threats, sending mean comments, commenting on these people's posts, just no matter what Micah, Irina, Jackie, Josh, any of them did on this show that might have made you mad, none of them deserve that. No. Okay? The internet, like you people make the internet a horrible place. I shared a story of Jackie speaking her truth, which I shared, saying, "Hey, if you want to check out the receipts from Jackie, check out her story." Right? I've had 4 different people respond to my story and say, "Ew, gross, blah 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 blah." If you don't like her, don't follow them, don't comment. Like, death threats, stop, people. It's a reality show. Let's put the camera on you. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason Amanda and I choose when to turn on and off our cameras. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want cameras following us around all day. Even though Netflix, if you want to pay me to follow me around all day, come do it, please. Like, we're game.
I'm at home all day, fam. Like, watching your shows. So like, that's what I'm doing.
Like, if you want to, don't get me wrong, I'll take you up on the offer. You know what I mean? But act like human beings. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the fact that people are getting death threats is absurd. Like, nobody deserves that. You know what I mean? Again, if you want to tweet on the internet, like, we've all done it. "Oh, I hate Irina for this, 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 and this." Don't tag her. Don't tag her.
Yeah, like there's a way to go about it.
Like,
That's it.
We all sit here, we live watch the reunion. We all had things to say about what we did or didn't like. I will professionally say that I do not like Zack. I'm not gonna like tell Zack that I don't like Zack. You know what I mean? You know. So if you're listening to this, Zack, you know, sorry, but
Okay,
but no,
Zack.
I'm not gonna. Amanda's got you. Don't worry.
I got you, man. I got you.
That said, I just felt the need to get that out because I've had conversations with these people and I have them on the show because I want to understand there is a human element at the end of the day to these people. They are going to make mistakes. They are going to do stupid things and we are going to criticize them, but no need for death threats. No need to tag them to let you know that you hate them. None of that stuff. It's immature. It's dumb. Let's stop that. Amanda, final thoughts on the reunion.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we need journalists in the hosting seats to mediate this. That's it. That's the main thing here. You cannot be biased. Yeah, get Ricky, honestly. As long as I can sit beside you, we can do this together.
The new host of Love is Blind right here.
Hells yeah. I think the issue is that Vanessa and Nick, like I mentioned before, they're good with recording. They're really good with it, making people feel welcome. You have to be on the ball in a live show, which I feel like they haven't done. Which ultimately made any possible closure with the rest of these couples impossible. And I think that it was very surface level. I think this was a gigantic miss. Again, not having Jackie there, just a massive miss. There's no, like, in hindsight, like, what could she have possibly have done to Marshall? What could have possibly done other than raising your voices, which we've seen before? I don't think that it would have escalated to that point, because you do have to conduct yourself in a certain manner on television. Like, it's just completely different. So they missed the ball with this one. Apart from the fact that they had technical issues for like an hour afterwards, like, we're all sitting there ready to go, which is a good sign for this, you know, this series that you guys have done, you know? So for me, it's like, I'd rather have people talk, communicate, air it out. And that's something to keep in mind for the next live reunion if they choose to have one. I think it's really important in the healing process for many of these people going through an experiment. This isn't conventional. It's not conventional dating. This is an experiment. So they need time to heal and to move forward, and to have that closure.
I agree. Yeah, my just final party thoughts. Don't consider new host of the reunion.
Yes.
I do think Nick and Vanessa do a great job with the cast and crew. My only suggestion has been since is to make Brett and Tiffany the host of the show. I do think that in a couple years that would be pretty cool for them to host it from the perspective of being on the show. Hopefully they're still together. Hopefully in a few years when they want to have babies, they have babies, not tomorrow, per Vanessa. Just a few other tidbits. Please never, ever, ever, ever let Zack sing ever again, please. I would prefer never to hear that man sing ever again. Micah, I feel bad for you. I'm sending all the amount of love that I can for you because of all the bad things I said to you about after the first 5 episodes. But
Yeah.
Incredible story arc though. If you're writing this, it was a great story. You know what I mean? The arc was great. But I love you, Paul, no matter what they say about you too. But Jackie and Josh for life. But that being said, folks, if you missed it last night after the live, or if you missed the announcement early this afternoon, if you are like itching for your fix for reality TV love, don't worry. The ultimatum is returning at the end of May, May 24th, with a full gay cast. So that's incredible. If you thought the drama was bad, I can't. Like, the trailer was intense. I love the ultimatum. I thought it was a lot of fun. So I'm interested to see season 2 of that. Very, very excited about that. Thank you guys for listening, and we will talk again soon.